During my first lecture as a medical ethics speaker, I met David. He was a very pleasant middle-aged man who was so excited to tell me about his tissue transplant. Over 20 years previously, David underwent brain surgery and needed donor dura mater, an important covering of the brain, to close his wound. David was incredibly grateful to the woman who had donated her body so he could receive this life-saving care. And David has gone on to become an impressively skilled artist and even showed me a beautiful carved wooden mural he had sculpted of the Last Supper, which hangs in the church where I was speaking. While most of my discussion about organ donation involves questionable ethics, I can happily say that the donation of a biologically dead body for tissues can be a wonderfully helpful and ethical gift. So what are tissues? Tissues are a group or layer of similar cells that together perform a specialized function. Tissues decompose slowly in the absence of blood flow and may, unlike organs, be harvested from a biologically dead donor. Some good examples of tissues are corneas, skin, bones, fat, tendons, heart valves, and clearly dura mater, amongst many others. These tissues can be harvested post-mortem from people who are biologically dead. However, as I researched tissue donation further, I found out there are issues to consider with this type of donation as well. Even though the donor is fully biologically dead, there are medical questions and legal issues that need to be considered. I'm Dr. Heidi Klessig, a retired anesthesiologist and pain management specialist and the author of The Brain Death Fallacy. In September of 2016, 69-year-old Marietta Jindy was taken to the hospital where she passed away. At 70 pounds, she was so emaciated that the hospital requested that the police investigate her death. Police had been called to her home several times previously for reports of possible abuse, and one detective on the scene described the condition of her home as horrendous. But when the coroner received her body, the bones in her arms and legs were missing, as well as large patches of skin from her back. Before her autopsy, One Legacy, a tissue procurement company, had been given access to her body by the county and had removed valuable evidence that could have been used in a potential criminal investigation. Forensic pathologist Cyril Wecht questioned the reported natural causes death, saying, "We can't be sure the bones weren't fractured. This could have been a manslaughter case." Unfortunately, this is one of many examples of the rush to harvest tissue from dead donors resulting in lack of evidence in cases of potential medical malpractice, wrongful death, abuse, and homicide. Reporter Melody Peterson of the LA Times found dozens of death investigations across the United States that were complicated or upended when transplantable body parts were taken before a coroner's autopsy could be performed. Criminal investigation isn't the only reason to delay a tissue harvest, however. For example, John Flath, an 18-year-old varsity athlete, died suddenly in 2011 while working out with cadets in the Air Force Reserve Officers Training Corps. Because he died outside of the hospital, he wasn't eligible to donate his organs. But because Flath was a registered organ and tissue donor, his family was powerless to delay tissue harvesting. Prior to his autopsy, One Legacy took Flath's bones, several other tissues, and his heart valves, which then were sold as medical devices. The coroner was subsequently unable to determine why John had died. His family tried to sue One Legacy and the coroner, but after their lawyer discovered the number of state legal protections for coroners and organ procurement companies, he withdrew from the case. John's father tragically stated, "You can't begin to imagine what it's like to learn that they can't complete the autopsy because they took your son's heart." Besides the medical and legal issues, there's also a bit of dishonesty going on. While organ and tissue donation companies loudly promote giving the gift of life, they're less clear about how many tissue donations are sold to clinics to be used in aesthetic, non-life-threatening procedures. These remains, donated in the interest of saving lives, are being sold for cosmetic procedures where, for example, a half teaspoon of ground up human skin to fill cellulite dimples is priced at $434. Personally, I think people should be informed that the tissues they give away for free are being used to fuel a large for-profit industry. Now, I have no issue with elective cosmetic procedures, but I do take issue with the lack of transparency provided to potential donors. So how do we avoid these problems, but still donate tissues for people like David? Fortunately, it can be done. Unfortunately, if you are a registered donor, your body will be harvested in the best interests of the procurement company, regardless of the concerns of your surviving family. But you do not need to be a registered donor to be able to make anatomical gifts. You just need people you trust with your best interests at heart to inform the hospital of your wishes. My suggestion is to stay off organ and tissue donor lists, and instead just inform your family that you would like to donate your tissue after you're biologically dead, and all of their questions regarding your cause of death have been answered to their satisfaction. It's as simple as that.